gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's April the 15th, 2024. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And the news of the day today is the news of the weekend, as those who were lucky enough to get a golden ticket and have the opportunity to watch the Miami spring game on campus on Saturday are loaded up with opinions and thoughts about what they saw out there on Saturday. And I was out there. I had fun at the spring game, got to chat with a bunch of people, was trying really, really hard to concentrate on the game as I talked to a lot of former players on the sidelines, and a lot of fans were on the sidelines as well. And you know, as I was watching, I kept running into guys that watch the show, and thank you so much. Our entire team here at CaneSport appreciates the following that this show has gotten, and appreciate that you guys enjoy starting your day out with us and watching this show. But there was like a common theme that I kept getting from the fans who watch this show, and universally, they think I'm way too respectful of Matt. They think I'm way too soft on him. They feel like I should be way tougher. And I was a little confused by this because there are guys that regularly post in the content section of our YouTube channel who think I interrupt Matt way too much, who think I talk way too much. And so I said, you know what? Nobody is going to believe this story. I better come back with a little evidence. And so I present this to you right now.
All right, get together. You need to whip his ass.
Who? Whose ass?
Shodell was
Yes.
terrible.
Yeah. Hey, bring your A game, baby.
So there it is. I brought some evidence home. That's your typical listener to Good Morning CaneSport. Bring your A game, Matt Shodell, right now, and tell us what you took away from the spring game.
I don't have an A game. Those guys pretty much nailed it on the head. The spring game, it reminded me of, I turned on the TV yesterday morning, and on ESPN, there was an auctioneer championship challenge, the championships, I don't know. You know what an auctioneer is, right? The guys who go, hey, 25, 30, whatever.
Love those guys.
Yeah, and it was broadcast, and the the announcers were hilarious. Like, one guy finishes, and the first comment they had about his performance was, at least he has a full set of teeth, But they gave one guy who had to, they show you they give you the items and they make you auction it, right? So this one guy, the items he had to auction, it was a rusty bucket and a piece of fence with a nail in it. And after he finished, auctioning it off to this fake audience, I guess, the announcer said, he sold those like they were the crown jewels in England. And that's sort of like what Mario Cristobal did with the spring game, because watching the spring game, it was all razzle dazzle. It was like, wow, this offense is unbelievable. Cam Ward's the real deal, which he is. There's no doubt about it. Cam Ward, I never had any doubts he was not the real deal, and he is the real deal, and everyone saw it for themselves on Saturday. But this is Miami against Miami. So your first inclination is, wow, the defense is bad, right? The offense is averaging 7 yards per play, 700 passing yards, in basically a half of play, because the second half went by and they barely ran any plays the whole second half with a running clock and no tackling to the ground. But as you look at the tape of the spring game, which is not easy to procure, it was broadcast on the internet. But as you rewatch it, it seems pretty evident to me that one of the, I don't know if Mario wanted the offense to look great or not, but one of the major prerogatives that this team seemed to have was, let's not make it too competitive to the point where we have injuries, because Miami has very little depth. I think the only thing that can hold Miami back right now this coming season is major injuries to major players. So it's smart in that sense. For fans who were used to in the old days seeing like these guys just get after it mano a mano in the trenches every play, even though it's a vanilla offense, vanilla defense, you just see this guy flying around. And maybe Xavier Restrepo is the only guy who didn't get the memo when he tried to hurdle Damari, who actually looked like he got hurt on the play, but not hurt, I should say, banged up, whatever. He's not hurt. But you watch Ruben Bain, he's going half speed. You watch the defensive linemen and linebackers blitzing, they're not going full speed, and they're all running in straight lines. So they were told, just go straight upfield. We don't want to do any of the stunting. We don't want to roll up on the back of offensive linemen's legs. We don't want to have any knee injuries on the defensive linemen, running into each other. There was zero. Yeah, they blitzed. So yeah, it looked like they were doing different stuff, but they were all straight line blitzes. Like when you turn on the tape, it's unbelievable. There was nothing other than, there was basically, they left like one particular play, right? They blitz two linebackers straight up, and they don't even run past the line of scrimmage. They just stop, essentially. The linemen are giving the quarterback 7 to 8 seconds to throw. They initially sort of charge upfield, and they just sort of hold back after that. And you have 4 receivers running downfield, and there's 5 people covering them. So you have one guy with help over the top, and the other 3 are one-on-one. So in any situation where you have 7 or 8 seconds to throw, nobody in your face, and you're Cam Ward or, Reese Poffenbarger or anybody, Ja'Cory Brown, other than the wounded duck you throw, you better complete a pass. You better find the open guy. That's the way football's designed. When it's one-on-one, receiver versus defensive back, 80% of the time the receiver is going to catch the ball, and the advantage to the receiver is 100% of the time. They know where they're going. The quarterback knows where they're going. The defensive back does not. Okay? It's pretty simple math. And like even on the touchdown pass on the out to Xavier Restrepo, right, from Cam Ward, great throw, great catch. Xavier's wide open, of course, by about a step and a half on a safety who's trying to cover him one-on-one down the field, for instance. You could see on the tape on that play, JoJo Trader's all alone in the middle. Like nobody even covered him in the middle of the field. I mean, this is what was going on every single play for most of the scrimmage. And to me, the most positive thing on defense was the run game never got on track. And fans could say, oh, this is bad for Miami's offense, that the run game isn't really helping. But they're going to get back. Francis Mauigoa was out, right? So he'll be back. He's a big piece. Both shoulders are being repaired. And they're going to get a running back in the portal, let's face it, a really talented running back. They were working with basically a true freshman and a tight end. Those were 2 of the 3 major pieces on the offense at running back. That was it. It was Elijah Lofton and Chris Wheatley-Humphrey carried a lot of the load. So like you can't expect them to just be all world right from the get-go. So I just think it was a really positive overall thing. It was great for the fans to see the big plays. Cam Ward looked as advertised. It was sort of just like an auctioneer, and it wasn't it might have looked like a rusty bucket and a piece of fence with nails in it on defense, but really you can't tell, because behind that, it could be the Queen's jewels. Like we have no idea, because they didn't try to do anything on defense. There was no scheming. There was no pass rush to mention. The only sacks they got were really when the quarterback tried to run after his mind clock ran out and he just tried to go somewhere and he got tagged, right? There was, I think, only 2 or 3 sacks. Like, when's the last time we saw 2 or 3 sacks in a scrimmage? Usually there's 10 to 12, because all you're doing is tagging the guy. You just get close. Even you get close to him, the refs blow it dead a lot of the times. That's how little they were trying to pressure. And it was by design. The coaches certainly told them, because if you watch Ruben Bain specifically, that's not Ruben Bain trying to get after the quarterback. Like, they were told to do that. That's okay. And everyone came out healthy. Everyone had a great time. It was a great atmosphere. The only thing that ever ruins a spring game is when you have a ACL tear or some other major injury to one of your star players. And this was a successful scrimmage in my book.
A successful spring practice. I mean, to our knowledge, there was not a major injury this spring. Yeah. That's exactly the way they wanted. I think they did a great job of getting their work in while managing the situations that might expose guys to injury. Phenomenal job. Maybe the best job that's ever been done at Miami in managing that. A lot of thudding, not a lot of full out tackling. There was some the last week or so, but they have to do it again in August anyway. So, like, why overdo it in the spring? And I felt like I walked away and I wrote a column about this that's on the website. And Matt did an analysis that's on the website this morning as well, urging everybody not to overreact to what they saw. And I certainly am not overreacting to anything I saw. I mean, I felt like I went into the spring game with a pretty good understanding of where this team is. I did a real comprehensive column for you guys about it. I hope you had a chance to read it. And I have, I believe, a pretty good understanding of what they're going to be trying to get done in the portal, which opens tomorrow. In the type of players that they might be looking to go get. We don't have specific names yet, other than the Martinez kid from Oregon State, which I believe they will go after. Remember, they can't go after these guys until they are officially in the portal on Tuesday. But I've heard enough scuttlebutt about this guy and his interest in possibly coming to Miami that I would expect Miami to make it mutual starting this week. But I don't think that they're going to rush to fill their slots. I really don't. I think that they are going to absorb who goes in the portal. You have basically a 2-week window that guys can enter the portal. And as late as April 30th, somebody can put themselves in the portal. So, I don't know that they're going to rush to commit themselves, that the Kings Connection Collective is going to rush to commit its dollars to certain guys, unless it's like a no-brainer move. And there will be a couple of those. There's no doubt. But there's a protocol to all this that they have to follow, and they have to make sure that they do it so I don't think it's going to be a situation where the portal's opening Tuesday and we're going to stories on guys coming to Miami out of the portal on day one. I'm not anticipating it playing out like that. We will be prepared for anything. Like I said, for the next 2-3 weeks, Matt and I, we have blocked out our schedules. We are going to be monitoring the portal like crazy. But you guys out there might just need to be a little patient. We are going to have to be careful about what we report. There's going to be a lot of competition for these players, and it's gonna be an interesting process. I really think it's going to be very interesting, and I do think the Miami will emerge on the other side with some impactful guys to fortify. I think they'll be looking for a running back. I think they're going to be looking for 1 to 2 wide receivers. I think they're going to look for a defensive tackle, a defensive end, possibly a linebacker, and 2 cornerbacks. So that's 8 guys that I'm expecting them to go get in the portal, unless that guy is just not there. They're not looking for roster fillers, okay? They are looking for starter level talent, okay? It's different than in the past. In the past, we've seen them take some roster fillers out of the portal, and it probably mostly designed to drive Matt Shodell out of his mind, because we are well aware of how he feels about non-impactful transfers. But I think Matt Shodell is going to be throwing a parade in this cycle. I really think that they are determined to make sure that if they take guys in the portal, that they are guys that are going to challenge for starting spots, or that you're going to say he is going to start. Like Cam Ward came in, he immediately was the best player on this football team. We know he's starting. Okay. I believe that that's the type of players that they will be looking for. And I think I think it's good, because if you look at those 8 spots that I just mentioned, what I took out of spring practice is that they need more at those 8 spots. So looking forward to the transfer portal opening Tuesday. We didn't overreact to anything coming out of the spring game, but we did cover it like crazy. You guys have a ton. If you haven't gotten through it all, there's a ton of content out of the spring game and the end of spring practice for you guys to site. Like I said, there's the analysis of why the offense's domination is not an indictment on the defense. There's my column where I talk about how they've improved the culture of competitiveness and how that showed this spring. We have Mario Cristobal's takes after the spring game. We spoke to Cam Ward and several other players, Xavier Restrepo, Shamar Kirk, Isaiah Horton, comments are all on the website in different ways. What else? We have photos from the spring game. So you guys that didn't get a chance to see the spring game or want to a lot of coverage on the spring game, it is there on the website for you. Make sure you check it all out. All right, so some other stuff that's on the website. A ton of recruiting was going on this weekend, and Matt, I'll touch on some of the stories here in a moment, but just a continuation of what I would say is a phenomenal job by the coaches in getting the top players in the 2025 cycle on campus during spring practice. It's given them a head start in recruiting. I looked at the team rankings yesterday. I was kind of surprised. Miami, I think, is number 13 right now, and I would have thought they would have been higher than that. But I believe they obviously will be as this cycle moves forward. And just in general, the coaches have done a great job of getting a lot of these players on campus and keeping Steven and Azubi really, really busy in covering their visits.
Yeah, and Miami has 7 commitments. So really, these rankings, I don't know if fans realize this, but it's really not based on the average. It's based on how many you take. If you take 50 3-star commitments in one cycle, you're going to be ranked ahead of somebody who takes 24 stars, and that's all they took was all 4 stars. So Miami, as they get more and more commitments, of course, they're going to move up in the rankings. And yeah, they have 4 4-stars, I think, right now, so, or maybe 5, but whatever it is. And regarding Gary talking about the transfer portal before, just because I think fans anticipate that they'll find out by the time the portal ends who Miami has, but really that's just a window to go into the portal and start the bidding wars that are out there for the free agents. For Miami purposes, and certainly Miami can find out in the next 2 weeks everybody they're going to get in the portal, but for Miami purposes, May 13th is the date to keep in mind, because that's the summer A enrollment date. That's really when you want to, Miami wants to have their transfer portal guys enrolled in school, in the program officially, and doing everything that all the players do on a team-wide basis. So really another month from now. And in terms of recruiting, I've always, this is what Mario Cristobal does. We've never seen this before at Miami with any coach. Jimmy Johnson, Bush Davis. It was a different era back then, of course, but we've never ever seen a coach recruit as prolifically. You can look it up, Gary. As prolifically as Mario Cristobal. The amount of prospects that he didn't just have down for the spring game. I mean, the spring game, he actually had more prospects to some of the other practices, and he had the massive junior day in January. I mean, just the way he runs the operation and recruiting is absolutely on point all the time. If he had the reputation he has as a recruiter, as a game day coach, people would be saying this is the most, this is Bill Belichick on steroids, the smartest coach, he's got the Vince Lombardi leadership, the Bill Belichick defensive skills, the whatever, offensive skills, like, Mike Leach offensive skills, whatever, like that combination. That's what he is in recruiting. Okay. I don't think fans appreciate. I know fans know fans know that he gets great recruiting classes, but fans are like, oh, if Miami wins 4 or 5 games those first 2 years, he never would have got any recruits. No, he still would have gotten top recruits. He is amazing in the way he bonds, not just with recruits, but the effort he puts in with the families, with the high school coaches, the connections he builds with just peripheral people. He's probably, it wouldn't surprise me if some recruit one day tells me he's texting 5 of his friends on a daily basis, telling them
he's a masochist, because recruiting is not fun.
It's fun for him. He enjoys it.
Loves it. And he sets the tone for everybody in the program. Like, he writes more letters than anybody else. He sends more text messages than anybody else. So he can't make a demand of somebody on his staff that's too big of a demand, because he's already exceeding the standards that he's applying to everybody that works under him. So he sets the tone. They're doing a great job of getting kids on campus and taking their best shots with those kids. And listen, they're off to a great start at tight end. I'll tell you that. They got a commitment about a week ago or so from Luka Gilbert, who's one of the top tight ends out there. And then they went one better. Luka, I hope you're not listening, but I'm going to call Brock Schott even one better. I mean, it may not play out that way, and you may be better than him when you get to college. But in terms of rankings and the way he's regarded, Brock Schott is without question one of the couple of best tight ends in the country. He was being recruited by everybody. They got an early commitment from him. He's on board with the Canes, and that's going to be eminently well-valued tight end haul in this recruiting class, assuming it stays together, whichever indication is that it will. And they just keep stacking talent. Last year picking up Elijah Lofton, the year before Riley Williams, Jackson Carver. Now you're getting Schott and Gilbert, and just stacking talent at certain positions and getting closer and closer to where they're doing the same thing at just about every position. And that's when you get back to being the Miami that everybody needs to know. It's like, all these former players were out at the spring game, and you know what their standards are, Matt? And they're sitting there, they're watching the spring game, and they're saying, man, our DBs never gave up plays like that. Like what the heck's going on? Oh man, our receivers were never covered like that, or never dropped the ball, or and then there's me, jumping in there, and I'm telling Stephen McGuire, man, watch Elijah Lofton. He's Stephen McGuire part 2. He reminds me of you, Stephen, and of course similar size and the hard-nosed running style. And what else? I told Lamar Thomas that JoJo Trader is a young Lamar Thomas. And we were having fun with it all on the sidelines, but they're getting closer and closer to these position groups starting to look like Miami is supposed to look. And they're not all the way there yet. I know it's year 3 of Mario. People are anxious for results. If they pull in 6, 7, 8 starters in the transfer portal, yeah, we'll be sitting here talking about hopefully 10, 11 wins in the fall. No argument about it at all. We're all anxious for that and hope it happens. And it would be nice to see Miami put up an 11-1 season, maybe even challenge to be 12-0, which would just catapult the program forward in so many different ways. But anyway, so we have a lot of coverage on all the recruiting that was going on this weekend. I'll very quickly touch on a few of the stories. We talked to Luke Nickel about how excited he is to be seeing the 4-star commits that are coming in around him. He, of course, is the quarterback pledge in the class, and he was on campus this weekend. We talk about out to Alabama wide receiver Dalen Upshaw, who's very high on Miami after his spring game visit. We talked to top 35 defensive lineman Nate Marshall, a guy that Miami is recruiting as hard as you can recruit any human being, and doing a decent job. He was on campus this weekend. We talked to 4-star defensive lineman Myron Charles, who tells us how close he is becoming to the Miami staff. A really good-looking 4-star safety from St. Thomas Aquinas, Justice Fitzpatrick, the younger brother of Minka Fitzpatrick, who plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who was recruited to Alabama by Mario Cristobal. He has a relationship with that family. Miami will be battling Bama and many others for Fitzpatrick, but you got to hope that connection that's already in place makes a major impact. Man, offensive line recruiting, I mean, they've been killing it the last couple of years. Well, this weekend they had the number 1 interior offensive lineman in the country, Solomon Thomas. He's committed to FSU right now, keeps coming back to Miami. We think there's a great chance the Canes will be flipping him. And they also had the number 2 interior offensive lineman, S.J. Alo Faituli, from Las Vegas Bishop Gorman, only the school where they got Elijah Lofton last year. And they're doing a great job of recruiting him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a Miami Hurricane too. So you're talking about the number 1 and the number 2 interior offensive linemen on campus this past weekend, both exiting those visits and talking about how much they love Miami. So, yeah, I mean, recruiting's going really, really well. The nation's number 1 linebacker, T.J. Jackson, was on campus this weekend. So, you can go on and on and on. All the stories They are on the website for you guys to check out, and I encourage you to do so. And we will be bringing many, many more to you every single day moving forward, because there is a ton of recruiting action going on. Remember, the signing period is going to be in June this year. And with that accelerated schedule, you're going to see the intensity of recruiting going on right now, matching that. Matt, I don't want to end the show without touching base on the baseball team and the baseball program. Continued to struggle this weekend at Florida State. Were swept by the Noles in each of those three games, losing 5-4, 11-7, and 6-4. Not good, Matt. Not good the way this baseball season is going. Your general thoughts?
Well, I'll go back to about 20 minutes ago when I was talking about recruiting. So, believe it or not, you interrupted me. I know you don't think you did. But I was going to say that the recruiting job that Mario does, that's how you build a national championship. And the other point I was going to make, and I'll make it really quickly now because that was a long time ago, from what I understand, Manny Diaz, and a lot of head coaches do this, they give their phone to staffers, to assistants, to whatever, and they give you a list of recruits, and they say, text each of these kids, whatever this message today, and that's what they do. Mario doesn't do that. Everything, if you're a recruit watching this, every message you're getting is from Mario. It's not from some fake staffer at Alabama or, wherever. I don't want to mention schools, but like whatever other schools that typically do that, right? You think it's coming from the head coach's cell number, but it's not really the head coach. They have other things that they need to do, right? They're not spending hours on their phone texting 100 different recruits every day. Mario does that in addition to everything else. That's why he sleeps like, I don't know how long a vampire sleeps, but he sleeps like a vampire. He goes in his coffin for like 1 hour a night, and that's it. Now, as far as the baseball team, I think Mario Cristobal could probably coach the baseball team better than it's, how much worse can you get than 1 in 9 in the last 10 games? Like, I haven't looked back, but I can't imagine that I can't imagine a Miami team that has done that. Maybe in history. I
can't remember ever seeing that.
And listen, Jim Martz was the most wonderful man in the world. He passed away, as we know, but he would be all over that. Like that would be his bread and butter. He would be looking up every single, he kept every single media guide for every single sport forever. As a matter of fact, when they went digital, Miami doesn't print media guides anymore. When they went digital, he was the guy who called, every person at Miami to complain, like, how could I have media guides dating back to 1953? I need this year's media guide printed out. And I think actually that year they printed out a Xerox copy and put a cover on it and gave it to him, just because, what are you going to do when it's Jim Martz, who's the Cane historian? But yeah, I mean, this is bad. They have a losing record. I think they're 6-12, I think it is now in the ACC. I mean, it's really, really bad. If they have a losing record, I'm just trying to take a quick look, do my best Jim Martz impersonation here. They haven't had a losing record. I'm just looking through, going back and back and back and back. I mean, even Brad Kelly, it looks like 1957, they were 11-12, Jimmy Fox coached that team. Oh, that's interesting. He's played for the old Philadelphia Athletics, if I remember correctly. But anyway, but yeah, the 1 year that they had, that the who was it, Kelly? I think Brad Kelly, right? Even that year, and he was just a 1 year guy. They, was considered a terrible coach. That team went 36-22, and this is just bad. Like it reflects, unfortunately, on Dan Radakovich. I don't know how much it reflects on the amount of money that Miami's willing to put into baseball. I personally think it does reflect on that. It was not an expensive hire. There was not a national search of any real purpose. And, I love JD Ortega to death. What happened to his family is awful. The guy's the nicest guy in the world. And he's a former Hurricane. He's a fantastic person. I think he's a great coach. But at the University of Miami, you want a head coach with a proven track record, who knows how things should work, who pushes the buttons you got to push, and I know JD, pretty well. He's assertive, but he's not going to go up to Dan Radakovich and yell at Dan Radakovich, like, I need more money. I can't compete with 12.7 scholarships when I don't have this, I don't have that. All the other schools do, that's not his personality. Mario would do that. Mario will yell at anybody at UM he has to yell at if he thinks it will get him even 1 ounce towards his goal of getting to another national championship. Like, that's what Mario does, and it's why ADs around the country probably are scared to death that Mario was going to be the next head coach of that school. He demands excellence, not just from his own team, but from his superiors, from everybody he meets, from everybody around him. Like, that's Mario. And, JD doesn't have the experience. JD is more passive. Everybody is compared to Mario, but he's just more of a passive personality. And my hope for this baseball team entering the year was that they would have more fun. I talked to JD off the record about it. I said, listen, JD, it just seems like recently these Miami baseball teams, the players haven't been having a lot of fun, like just in general. Like, yeah, it's fun when you have a walk-off. Of course, teams have fun doing that, but just in the locker room, out and about with your teammates, like, just they didn't seem to be joyful. And I said to him, before the season, I said, I'm hoping with you as a head coach that changes. I want to see these guys really, enjoying playing baseball again. It just hasn't seemed like it's been that way in recent years. And, he didn't really, I don't want to say he gave me an answer. He just sort of, whatever, sort of looked at me and was like, oh, okay, it sounds good, right? Whatever. Like, here's some schmucky reporter who I've been talking to for the last however many years telling me he hopes my players have fun. Like, okay, he probably thought I was a schmuck. But with that said, this is a very young team. It's a team that seems to be playing very close games a lot of times and not able to pull them out, which happens to young teams. And, I'm not ready to blame JD, but certainly the roster building was not where it needs to be. There are a couple of future really, really good pieces there, but the bullpen's, pretty much not good. There's no depth in the lineup. I think they got like 3 or 4 starters that are pretty far under 300 right now, last I looked. So it's just a mess, which if you're a baseball fan, and there's only probably 10 of you out there, maybe, and maybe 2 of you are watching it this morning, like, I feel bad for you. Baseball's my sport. I'm out of the goodness of my heart, my friend and I are coaching a Howard Palmetto baseball team, for the high school for the high school ages this year. I love baseball, but it's hard to love Miami baseball right now when they're 1-9 in the last 10 games. And it seems fairly evident that they are not going anywhere this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see if this season keeps going the way it's going. I don't know how many years are on the contract and stuff, but it was a controversial hire. Let's be honest. A lot of depth, preferential, treatment there and stuff. And when a lot of people thought they should do a national search and go out and see who the best candidate they could find was for this program, and they didn't do it. And that hasn't worked out very well for Miami. And I hope they learn some lessons, because I don't know how many more years it'll be before they have to replace Jim Larinaga. But they might want to do a national search, and they might want to figure out who the best. I
hear you. A lot of this comes down to money, and the truth is, if you're a Miami fan, and if the money's infinite, it's one thing. But let's face it, money's not really infinite. So if you're a Miami fan, would you rather put into football first, basketball second, baseball third? I think the average fan would say yes. And that's part of the problem. Baseball's not a moneymaker either for the University of Miami by itself. And, maybe the only thing that'll spur Dan Radakovich on is if they could, I don't know if you know this, Gary, but Goofy got sued. Did you know this? Goofy got sued for running over some lady in Disneyland. And now she's saying she's like irreparably damaged, like she's some sort of robot or something. So maybe we could sue Dan Radakovich. Maybe a Miami baseball fan will sue Dan Radakovich for not hiring a coach appropriately.
I'm not sure Dan Radakovich made that call, Matt. I'm not sure. Well,
that's as frivolous a lawsuit.
I'm not going to speculate either way. I'd have to look into it a little bit more, but I'm not sure that he made that call. So we'll leave it at that. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this morning for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you so much for starting out your day with us. If you're on YouTube right now, you like the show, like this channel, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It does help us with the algorithms and growing our audience. If you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, please head on over to the website and join our great community of fans. And we do everything we can do every minute of every day to make your fan experience the best that it can be. So for a pretty well-behaved Matt Shodell for today, I'm Gary Ferman. No, I did not interrupt him, even though he said I did. I did not interrupt him.
By the way, with Radakovich, what are you talking? You're talking about the donations from the Damari family? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about?
No, I'm saying I think the administration might have made the call to to keep it in house and make that move. I'm not sure.
Well, then what is Radakovich there for? That'll be my question to you. If he's not even doing anything, has no say in anything,
he made the women's basketball hire. I'm pretty sure. I think he saw that process through start to finish.
Yeah, of course I would have been. They scheduled the introduction for her literally a half hour after Cam Ward spoke for the first time all spring. I don't understand the scheduling of that, but from what I heard, there was all of 3 reporters that showed up for her introductory press conference. So maybe she thinks there's only like 3 reporters that cover the Miami Hurricanes. I don't know, but that was not great. I was gonna, for women's basketball fans out there, and I know there's a lot of you now. What's the SNL joke that there was 14.2 million people that watched the championship game, which was 14.2 million more than last year's game. That's their joke, not my joke. But for the women's basketball fans out there, like, I would have gone. I would have been there. I would have at least covered it somehow. It was supposed to be streamed live, like whatever. I would have figured out a way to cover it. But there was like no reporters there. So, don't blame me. Blame Dan Radakovich. Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't Dan Radakovich's fault, Gary. What did you say? It was the board of trustees. It was somebody else. It's never Dan Radakovich's fault. Just ask Gary. It's not his fault.
I don't know for a fact, so I don't want to throw anybody under any buses. But
if you're the athletic director, if you're literally the director of athletics and that's your title, and you're not making the hires, Gary, they should change your title to intern of athletics. That's my suggestion. They should change his title to intern of athletics. That's my suggestion.
He's actually a vice president. But listen, I don't want to speculate.
The releases that they send out say director of athletics, just so you know. That's what they call him.
Regardless, if this baseball season keeps going the way it's going, they're going to have some decisions to make at the end of the year. We'll leave it at that. All right, so for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you so much again for starting out your day with us, and we will see you next time, everybody.